Okay, folks, we're ready to get started. I see where we have about 24 folks who are logged in as listeners. So we certainly appreciate you being on the webinar and listening to this great opportunity for Chicago Broadband Challenge. My name is Brad Housewright. I'm the E-Team Director for Partnership for Connected Illinois Broadband Illinois. This webinar today is about One Voice stakeholder opportunity for the city of Chicago. The Mayor, Emanuel, talked about he wanted a broadband challenge for the city of Chicago, which then becomes a flagship for broadband usage and adoption through the city, which allows a lot of folks to be able to take advantage of that. And as PCI, one of our missions is to continue to aggregate stakeholders within whatever region that we happen to be working in. And certainly that will be in Chicago for this opportunity. So we're very, very excited. This just continues to help fuel the broadband enthusiasts who are continuing to develop software platforms and other programs to be utilized on a broadband connection. So again, we're very excited that you're tuning in. We just want to do a very kind of a high-level overview, and then we're going to be planning on having meetings next week on the 16th and the 17th, which will be held in Chicago. Please stay tuned. Look for those events will be posted, the exact locations of those events. They will also be webinars as well. But that information will be on broadbandillinois.org under events, and you'll be able to find that information. Or you can certainly email myself or information or your E-Team coordinator for your region for that additional information. So, with that being said, again, we thank you for joining us. We want to talk about what the possibilities are about being able to aggregate a number of you folks. We have reached out to the Broadband Innovation Fund applicants. We have reached out to the Eliminate Digital Divide applicants, and we've also reached out to all of the telecom providers that we have in our database that we work with on a consistent basis. This will allow us to be able to bring those broadband enthusiast folks that are working in that field, either developing infrastructure or developing innovation, and how we want to be able to aggregate that information to be able to answer back to the RFI, or just aggregate that information so we can supply that back to the city of Chicago and to the mayor's office so they can be aware of what the folks who are broadband enthusiasts, what they're thinking, what capabilities are out there, and what they're looking to push forward. Again, like I was talking about, it's the aggregation of stakeholders for Chicago Broadband Challenge. As PCI and as the E-Teams, and it's really all of PCI, but certainly the E-Teams, we focus on working with the providers local in that area. But for this challenge, it's going to be providers, businesses, and then also the innovation zones that are out there that the mayor has actually begin to identify as being those innovation zones that they really want to focus on as being a part of the infrastructure deployment for that challenge. So we want to be able to promote the deployment of that in the neighborhoods and parks, and then the mayor and his constituent also talked about the ability to leverage Chicago assets, whether that's dark fiber infrastructure, right-of-ways, the sanitation tunnels. As some of this innovation begins to be reconstructed in terms of other infrastructure such as water and sewer, We want to make sure that that also becomes available to be able to utilize for broadband capacity for infrastructure, and then encourage broadband usage for Chicago as much as possible. And that's one of the areas that we really wanted to be able to work with you folks who are joining us on the webinar and understanding your vision, understanding what you would like to see out of this, because you folks are the boots on the street, and you folks have been involved in numerous activities for broadband enthusiasts over the time period. And so we want to make sure that we're able to leverage what it is that you're looking for, what you would like to see out of the Chicago Broadband Challenge, and to make sure that we're able to pass that information on. So again, on September 24th, Mayor Emanuel, he put together the initiative. It's a very ambitious initiative, and that's why we're really excited, because this comes on the heels also of several programs that we've been able to help to facilitate. One, which is the Governor's Gigabit Challenge, which started last February. And is being continues to be an opportunity, and we look forward to the announcements of that program in the near future. Then also with our Broadband Innovation Fund that has also been started a few months ago and is now wound up, and the awardees have been announced, and we look really forward to being able to work with the awardees as well as all applicants for the Broadband Innovation Fund, and how we help those folks, especially on the heels of Mayor Emanuel's Broadband Challenge, to help to continue to develop those programs that were just great innovation opportunities for broadband applications. And then eliminate the digital divide, which has been a program that's been going on for several years, that continues to do computer training centers. And they are a huge asset and training component within the city. And so we really want to work with all of you folks, again, to bring what we feel like becomes the one voice with all the information that gets put back to the city of Chicago for that. So we want to work talking about, you know, the gigabit, the last mile fiber infrastructure, the innovation zones, industrial corridors, and then just you know, how do we grow the startup opportunity within the community? You know, making sure that we're being able to serve broadband to underserved neighborhoods in areas, you know, for programs that we can ensure get the digital connectivity or broadband connectivity that's necessary for them. How do we launch Wi-Fi hotspots, which we're already working with a program through PCI in terms of identifying Wi-Fi hotspots throughout the state. So this is another component that we can continue to help leverage as well. But the mayor's initiative wants to make sure that the whole city, so it's whether it's parks, plazas, public spaces, they all have availability to Wi-Fi or broadband connectivity. So as we move forward, if you haven't had the opportunity to be able to review the RFI, review the information, and know more about what's going on with the activities, please go to the website, which is thecityofchicago.org broadband, and continue to stay abreast of the developments and the information that's going on there, as well as being able to download the RFI and the content of that information to see, again, the information that you would like to put back forth to the city for what you believe becomes a real innovative opportunity, or leveraging those opportunities, whether that be infrastructure or whether that be new programs, web apps that are being developed that you've been a part of. We want to make sure that information is going and collecting and going back to the Mayor's Broadband Challenge. We feel like through the request for information, interested companies, universities, educational organizations, through the rollout process, there's going to be a couple of really key questions that are going to really need to be focused on, and that's how the city can best use of its existing broadband infrastructure, potential uses for future expansion, high-speed broadband access citywide. So again, that's one of the reasons why we're trying to ensure the aggregation of the information. We know that each of you has the ability to respond back. We just wanted to try to set up a platform to where basically we begin to connect the dots between the organizations, the applicants, but the information. Because if each one of us are asking questions and each one of us are beginning to think about, what this means to me, what this means to my neighborhood, what this means for the city and the state, it gives great credence and a real opportunity for us to emphasize what we think and what we believe the future looks like and how that can be utilized going forward. The other is how and where the city should make these critical infrastructure improvements. Again, you folks live within the city. Most of you have collaborated with each other on multiple opportunities in multiple programs. In a minute, as we conclude this and go to questions, we also have the E-Team coordinator, Arnie Sanders, who has been involved with many of the programs that have gone on, like the Smart Cities Opportunity, just several of the programs that have gone on inside the city, and will be a huge asset for us going forward. I look forward to hearing from Arnie, and then also questions that will be asked. But no one knows more about where the infrastructure opportunity should be, but even more so than that, where those improvements should come from, because it's lack of infrastructure, it's lack of connectivity, where inside the neighborhoods of Chicago, where that becomes very, very relevant and very important to have that infrastructure and that platform available, so we can continue to have future applications that our citizens, our students, visitors can take advantage of for the great city of Chicago. So that's certainly the information that we want to be able to continue to put together as we move forward for Mayor Emanuel's Broadband Challenge for the city of Chicago. As you can see, there was a map that was put out that talks about the high-speed zones. There's 15 areas that would be the first to be covered under the proposal. I know these become strategic areas, but we certainly don't want to leave out any areas that you folks feel like that is hugely necessary for upgrades in that infrastructure, so that, again, we can take advantage of that. I know that certainly with these sites that the mayor and his constituents laid out, it certainly gives a vast coverage of a lot of areas. But certainly with the knowledge that you participants have in the various programs that you've worked through, this becomes very important, because this again continues to give us the information of which we need to feed back of other areas within the city that also need to be built out for the usage of broadband capacity. So with that being said, I would like to be able to conclude the overview, and also hear from Arnie in terms of, I know he would like to talk to the group and address you folks, and would have input and questions as well. But again, from PCI and from the E-teams, as well as the other folks that work very, very closely with us, communications folk, application folks, and mapping, we're very excited about this, the broadband challenge coming from Chicago, because again, it kind of goes on the heels of multiple programs that we continue to work with and continue to try to push forward. So with that opportunity, I would like to extend the webinar to Arnie Sanders for him to be able to address application folks. So Arnie, please.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited that you all have joined the webinar today. This is going to be a very unique opportunity for the city and the state, and I really applaud everyone who responded on such short notice. For the past several years, I've helped to lead an initiative that was part of the city of Chicago, in addition to some small community development agencies in 5 of the cities here in Chicago, in which we did a campaign which is called the Smart Communities Initiative. It really focuses around digital literacy and excellence in many underserved communities. Again, I said we work very closely in 5 of those communities, and there were many attributes to this campaign. But needless to say, what was really striking about this campaign was the need for improved internet access and just availability to internet access as well. The city has taken the position that, you know, there's a lot of development that's needed here, and to be quite honest, it really makes no sense not to include broadband in that development, in the development talk. If you're going to be tearing up streets, if you're going to be building and constructing, then it really makes sense for us to have broadband networks, fiber networks available, so that our residents, business owners, educational institutions alike all could have access to broadband, so that we can be and remain globally competitive in the marketplace. Brad, is there anything else you'd like me to touch on?
No, I think that you've covered, you know, the those programs and those organizations that you've worked with very, very closely. And again, we're very excited about this. What I'd like to do now is kind of move to the questions that you folks would have about the aggregation of this information, and any general questions that we can certainly take, and we can try to facilitate information and answers to. I will be actually this part in the Springfield office will be Aaron Facemeyer and Ann Hubbard, who will be reading off the questions, and then Ernie and I, or possibly 1 or 2 other folks in the organization, will answer back on those. So please, if you have questions, let's move forward with those now. Thanks.
All right, Brad, we have one question here already. It says, please define PCI's role in the Chicago Broadband Challenge. Does PCI plan to file a response to the city's RPI? On behalf of whom?
That's a possibility. I would like to take just a minute. I couldn't see this, but I do have a request from a board member of PCI, Bruce Montgomery, and Bruce is a broadband enthusiast and has been a part of Partnership for Connected Illinois and Broadband Illinois since the inception has moved forward. So I would certainly love to hear his thoughts and what he would like to add to the webinar as well. Bruce, if you would, please go ahead.
Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Ernie. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think it's very beneficial for Broadband Illinois to play an evangelizing and supportive organizing role. It's wonderful that we are attempting to gather up information and make that information transparently available back to the community and allow for the community to come together in a natural way to find where there could be some opportunities to move forward. The city this is clearly not the first time that the city of Chicago has gone down this road. There have been several attempts over the last 10 years or longer to identify and create some kind of strategy, and most have not ended in success. And so the city, which is under a variety of budget and fiscal restraints, is again asking the community to hoist up concepts and ideas, but obviously it is unclear as to where these resources will come from that will allow these ideas and concepts to be implemented. When I look at the map that was indicated, obviously there are some glaring absences there. I just sent in a note to say that all of the city colleges of Chicago, very important community institutions like Olive Harvey College on the southeast side and Kennedy King College in the Englewood community, need to be part of that map. Important four-year institutions like Chicago State University need to be included, and oftentimes are not thought about when it comes to looking at the needs of important population areas like the south side of Chicago, that is oftentimes, again, not included in conversations around connecting broadband and looking at where infrastructure is being extended. And so this, as Ernie said and as Brad said, is a great opportunity to let a variety of individuals know that the community is well informed, well engaged, has been at the table for a long period of time, and are clear about wanting to achieve some goals to create broadband accelerated opportunities and economic development and education and small business access and healthcare in many areas. So I think along with looking at infrastructure, we must continue to talk about communities of interest and need, and even as the city is moving through this process of thinking about extending infrastructure, that again, I'm very supportive of keeping the dialogue going and open, and also looking at where the resources are in terms of communications infrastructure providers, technology-oriented businesses and solutions, such as where are data centers located within the community currently, where are service providers looking at their maps, because in many cases there's a lot of infrastructure that exists and that's not being accessed, leveraged, and adopted by the communities that these organizations are serving. So this is a complex dialogue, but one in which we need to continue to talk about in the broadest sense of the terms, particularly around those solutions that could offset some of the key challenges and concerns the communities have. And in closing, I'd say that all of these things are linked. When we look at transportation questions, clearly the south side of Chicago is about to be impacted by a major disruptive event in the closing of the Red Line for several months. This is an opportunity to interrogate, investigate, plan, and provide for communications facilities to enhance mobility and quality of life, and to minimize the disruptive impacts of this transportation activity. And so again, other people need to be at the table, such as Metra, the CTA, RTA, talking about how they can, because they're the people who actually own some of the right-of-ways of fiber routes, and they should be making that fiber available to innovative concepts that can provide services in these affected communities. So that's all I'll say, and it's my pleasure to be supportive of this effort to again extend this dialogue and to keep ideas moving and flowing, both to and around the city and around the state, and also to include the very important private sector partners who are in the business of making sure that infrastructure is functioning and working for all residents in the areas that they serve.
Thank you so much, Bruce. I certainly appreciate your input, and we look forward to your guidance in this very, very important endeavor for the state of Illinois. So again, we'd like to go back to questions, and please, Bruce, if you'd like to weigh in on some of the answers to the questions, please feel free. You as well, Arnie. So Aaron, if you would, read back the question.
Okay, our first question. Please define PCI's role in the Chicago Broadband Challenge. Does PCI plan to file a response to the city's RPI, and on behalf of whom?
Okay, so again, in the beginning, what we had talked about as being a one-voice opportunity in terms of aggregating all of the Broadband Innovation Fund folks, all the Eliminate the Digital Divide, as well as the providers. We wanted to extend that opportunity that if we came together as one voice, we would be very, very interested in trying to fulfill those needs, that information, and being able to submit that back to the mayor's group and to the challenge itself for the request for information. So we would, very much like to engage in that. And if the group feels like that it makes sense and everyone feels like that it's a good opportunity for us to aggregate as one voice and submit that, then we certainly are on board with that, yes. Bruce or Ernie, would you like to weigh in on that? Okay, Aaron, next.
Okay, and I just want to add, if you'd like to ask a question, you can either type it in, or you can raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can go ahead and talk. But Bruce has something to add to that. Chicago State University and Northeastern Illinois University should also be included as vital community broadband access hubs. Other than that, if you have any questions, please go ahead, type those in or raise your hand. I'm not seeing any more questions come in, so.
Okay. Well, again, folks, thank you so much. We certainly look forward to the opportunity in working with you and hearing from you. So please, we will be posting on broadbandillinois.org. We will be posting under events where we will be holding meetings and webinars on the 16th and the 17th in Chicago. So please, if you can participate, we would certainly love to hear from you. We would like to be very instrumental in trying to make the mayor's Chicago Broadband Challenge as big of a success, but to address all of the RFI questions and concerns, but making sure that we get that information back into the hands of those folks that are going to be utilizing it to try to make that broadband challenge a success as well. So please, we look forward to, again, working with you. And
Brad, we have one more question.
okay, great.
Will PCI make Chicago fiber mapping data available online?
We'll have to work through that to see if those assets can be mapped. There are some assets that can and some assets that cannot. So we'll have to work through some of those issues with the providers in the city. That might be something that you'll have to go through a process in order to gain that information. I know in the request for information, if you're looking for specific information, you have to register with the city of Chicago to be able to get that. So that may still be a requirement that we have to go through for that information. So I can't give you a definite, but we certainly will look through what possibilities we can be able to get that information and then be able to get that information to those that would and want to respond for that.
Okay, we have another question. Should the broadband challenge include the needs of visitors? I'm from Chinatown. Online information for tourists is a benefit to the community and businesses.
Absolutely. You know, the way for folks to be able to find those businesses that are local to the communities within inside the city of Chicago, we need to make sure that those certain Wi-Fi spots, but certainly the opportunity for those businesses to advertise and have a presence online becomes strategically important for the broadband challenge, but also strategically important for that business and the life of that business. So we want to make sure that we're covering all aspects for the open Wi-Fi for tourists and travelers that are coming back and forth through the great city of Chicago as well.
Okay, we have another question here. Is the city hosting any meetings to help in the RFI process?
I would encourage you to go to thecityofchicago.org/broadband to be able to find out that information. I do know that we will be posting those events as well on broadbandillinois.org under events. I am not sure how many or if there will be any more. I know that we're hosting ours, and I'm sure if the city decides to move forward with any more, that they will be posting those, and so will we.
At this time, we don't have any other questions. Is there anybody else who would like to either speak or ask a question? Okay, we have one person that would like to speak. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. All right, Mr. Waggins?
Yes.
Oh,
I'd like to ask, will there be any additional funding offered for the broadband of Illinois? I know that the broadband Illinois had a limitation on the funding, but will the city be offering anything to additional organizations in order to help meet the requirements of the broadband program?
Sir, I'm not exactly sure about what funding mechanisms will become available. I do know that that can certainly be addressed in the information that gets sent back on the RFI. That can be a potential opportunity for us to continue to talk about the Broadband Innovation Fund and the fact that we had 113 applicants, 45 from which came from Chicagoland. So we hope that there will be many funding opportunities moving forward. but that will be an ask that we would put in the RFI that would go back. Knowing specifically, absolutely, I have no idea. We'll have to wait for the final results as they come back, as the city comes back to fulfill the proposals for the actual broadband challenge.
And thank you for that question. Is there anyone else that would like to speak or ask a question? All right, I'm not seeing anyone else at this time. So, Brad, if you want to take it away.
Yep, sure. Again, thank you for the participation. For you listeners that are on the webinar, please, if you would like to have more information or you would like to begin to weigh in on the RFI and questions and information that you feel is relevant, please do reach out to us. We will put together a mechanism that we can begin to post up information as we move forward. But please visit our website, broadbandillinois.org, and look under events for the 16th and the 17th as we move forward for those meetings and convening stakeholders and broadband enthusiasts for the Chicago Broadband Challenge. Again, thank you very much. Thank you, Bruce Montgomery, for participating, and Arnie Sanders. I look forward to working with everyone, and I know PCI looks forward to the mayor's broadband challenge for the city of Chicago. Thank you very much, and we will be seeing you soon.